It's the Redirect Podcast. Search industry research, discussion, and analysis from the Black Truck Media and Marketing Headquarters. And now, redirecting you to the Black Truck team.
Welcome to episode 41 of the Redirect Podcast. It is Friday, April 6th, 2018. I'm Jason Dodge, founder of Black Truck Media and Marketing. I'm joined this week by Patrick and Ashley from the Black Truck team. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Hey. So here we are, another week. A lot of changes, a lot of challenges, shakeups at the Big G. More changes coming with Bing, actually, too. There's some stuff with Bing recently, so not wasting any time and getting right into some things. Big thing that I picked up on this week that I wanted to touch on real quick and just kind of as a good conversation starter was text-to-code ratios as it relates to ranking. There was in one of the recent Google Webmaster Central office hour hangouts that happens. For those of you that want to get super geeky, you can check those out. They're more live YouTube-style hangouts with Google's John Mueller. And he said recently that they do not use anything like text-to-code ratios for Google search. Meaning, this goes back to a discussion I think that we've had previous episodes of the Redirect, where we've certainly created content and discussion around it, that whether or not pages have more or less HTML on them and how Google renders those. So whether or not your page has more or less HTML on it is a design preference and how that is established on your site, and not necessarily how Google's going to index it. So it's more, if you have a page that's got a lot of code on it versus a minimum amount of text on it, what he's saying is that it's not, I don't want to say it's not an issue, but it's not a ranking factor or ranking concern. I think certainly we know from a performance perspective, if you chalked a page just full of a bunch of gobbledygook, that, I mean, why would you do that?
Right. Page speed. Well, could we say then that it might indirectly affect rankings? Because if you have a bunch of code that's loading slowly, that would affect the page load speed, which is
It's not a direct signal, though.
No, she said indirectly.
Right.
Indirectly.
Yeah.
Indirectly affects rankings, but it doesn't directly. It's not a direct signal.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think it could. I mean, why wouldn't you want your page to be, your pages to be the most efficient and performance oriented as possible? So if your code to text ratio, I mean, if you do, and some CMSs just naturally produce a bunch of code that, quite frankly, I think is unnecessary. Not to call one out, but Wix produces a bunch of unnecessary code, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that they really taunt themselves as this what you see is what you get. WYSIWYG editor, don't have to have a lot of design skills. You can drag and drop and put elements in. With that type of system comes what we've talked about before is like code bloat. And so where John is saying, the amount of text on your page that's readable to code doesn't matter. But man, if that code is holding the site back performance-wise from loading, I would certainly think that would be a big issue. I know it comes up a lot in our page speed analysis, but
It's all business relative, though, too. It just depends on the function of the page. Sometimes, like if it's a revolving news type site or something that has current events or something on it, there's going to be just lots of stuff rotating through there. Or if it's just a simple splash page that sends you somewhere else into the site, sometimes you just can't get around it. But if you don't have a lot of stuff on that page, make sure it's as clean as possible.
Maybe minimize. I think that's a really good point you bring up, Pat. Is like we've been in a lot of cases too where they're pulling data from third-party sources. Now, whether that's a plugin or a module or add-on, depending on your CMS, they're called those. Those are pulling data in from third-party sources, and not necessarily on your server. And if there's an issue with that, and that code doesn't load in and it breaks, or the content doesn't load in or is fed in there, I mean, that's all gonna that's all going to totally slow things down and muck it up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So good conversation starter as I try and bite my own lip there. So. All right, I'm looking to you, Ashley.
All right. Well, a little bit selfishly, I've been wanting to explore a topic for a future blog post, so I decided to kind of roll that into my research for the podcast this week. So I've had a question on my list of potential topics for a while now, and that is, do categories and tags help SEO?
Oh, man.
Gross.
Let's not answer that. Let's not answer that yet. Let's hear you out. What are your findings so far?
Oh, well, as far as helping, I haven't found a lot of evidence to suggest that they would help SEO. Now, from a user experience perspective, they can be useful for categorizing what you have on your website, on your blog. So a user would be able to click on a category and find related articles on your website, or click on a tag and find even more specifically related articles on your site. So from a user experience perspective, it's helpful. From an SEO perspective, again, I don't really think they serve a whole lot of positive purpose.
Yeah, there is, and I believe that even in your initial research, I mean, it's been fairly, I think, best practices for a few years now is that, you don't want to block those resources, but we don't really care to have them indexed, right? Because of just like pagination issues as well, blog/to, blog/page2 or whatever. Like, there's potential for duplicate content in there as the way that it's structured. So I would agree 100% that maybe from a user experience perspective, it's great, but search.
I don't even know if as a user experience it's working right. I think that whole process is broken, and I think CMSs need to stop forcing it upon site users to push it back onto their site owners to push it back onto their users.
And I think too, to that point, that it's more of it becomes more of a UI issue then, a user interface, because I know we kind of went through that whole process when we redesigned our site, and we're actually working on a big relaunch with another client right now where you're talking a lot of data, a lot of resources. It could potentially be a lot of different categories. If there was no UI, so no user interface, no proper user interface to understand those categories to have them make sense, it would be a zoo. It would be a nightmare. We've all been on those blogs that's like 40 categories going down the right-hand sidebar, let alone the date archives and everything else that comes with it. Thanks, WordPress.
I think something that would be interesting to explore is to see the blogs in the state that we're talking about, in the world that we're discussing right now, adapt a system similar to what you might see on a major retailer website, like an Amazon or something along those lines.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because that's kind of where I was going to go with this.
Where I first saw it, I've been seeing it. Previous world of mine, I was in photography, and I bought a lot of equipment and miscellaneous peripherals on bhphotovideo.com.
Oh, yeah.
And they're the leading source for US-based photo products.
Pro
gear stuff and audio-visual, all that good stuff. But their sidebar on the left, you could get so detailed and eliminate. There might be, let's start with 1 million products, and if you put in all your search criteria,
you're filtering, right?
Yeah, it's filtering, and it's right there in front of you. When we see that today, to an extent, with like your Best Buys or your Amazons, if there was a way to do something similar to that on blogs, like if your topic was, I want to talk about SEM with just the industrial industry. If we happen to have an article that's industrial and search engine marketing, we could bring it down to just that. And if that's able to, that whole filtering system, I think, would be a lot more efficient than tags and categories.
And let's not confuse that also with large e-commerce players that have actual what we would call product category
Right.
pages. Meaning, in the case if let's
Right.
stick with the photography theme, DSLRs
Right.
versus point of view video cameras. You could
Right.
easily have a category page that was well optimized, dedicated for
Yeah.
that theme, but then your filtering categories would then be brand, mirrored, mirrorless,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
I'm not I know
No, you
enough
did
to be
well there.
dangerous.
You did well there.
What are all those, the various
Yeah.
formatting and things
Yeah.
like that. I think that's huge value, because if you don't know, if you know you want a DSLR, you do a search. I land on, say, BH.
Yep.
But then from there, I'm educated on it,
Yeah.
and I go, oh, a price filtering, I
Yeah.
think is a big one.
Yeah, that site is very complicated, and it is, you toggle a few dials, it really becomes very user friendly. You know, and it's if there was a way to incorporate that to blogs, actually, it sounds like you might have some feedback on that.
No, actually, I was thinking more along the lines of what Jason was just describing, and I thought that might have been the route that you were going on. But no, that sounds good too.
Yeah.
How do you think about this though too? What if we took this concept a step further? So let's talk about personalization. So web experience personalization. Being an automotive enthusiast, a lot of various sites I go to, what we might refer to as the old school catalogers or big retailers, I can put in a specific make, model year of a vehicle, and then my experience is now custom tailored to that. There's a couple sites out there in particular that I can go to and do that. They're more or less taking care of that filtering for me and plugging it. Once I plug in the year, make, model, they show me, even in the various categories, product categories, the products they have available for me based on my year, make, model. Do you think a similar experience could be done in content marketing?
If it's a site that you're logged into, yeah.
So you think you got to be logged in to do
Because you'd have a profile, and your profile would have different triggers in it.
it? Fair enough. Like we subscribe to the Harvard Business Review. If I log in, I have it personalized for what I want to see, so
Right.
it's filtered. But what if you weren't though? What if you were just a general web user and you were like, no, I want to see X, Y, and Z. I want to see, like you said, I want to see information on SEM, industrial manufacturing, and that's the content that I want to see. I want to see
Right.
products or services that are relevant to that.
Right. That would start with viewer education,
Yeah.
visitor education. Have to be maybe
Kind of that what are you looking for type of thing?
Yeah.
I mean, true personalization, to your point, is whether they're a logged in user or you're doing personalization through marketing automation tools,
Right.
Salesforce, Pardot, that Marketo, that type of thing. That gets more complex.
Yeah. If I go to Amazon, I have I don't know if you guys have seen this, but the Amazon Garage.
Yeah.
I have both my vehicles stored in there, and if I'm looking for something particular or something, I'll get a little note in green that says, this item fits your 2013 blah, blah, blah. I think that was pretty nice, or it's in red if it doesn't fit. There's some quirks to it, doesn't always work, but that's a pretty slick system.
I actually do that with the AutoZone app. I have all of our vehicles in there, but then also, since maybe a couple of those vehicles are modified, I actually have I more or less hack the system and say I also have those other year models where maybe some of those parts are from, so that if I want to reference those, if I'm dealing with a 79 Jeep in this case, but I have a lot of parts on it from an 85, I can easily say, well, no, actually that's an 85, and that's more of a forced thing because of the individual who's behind the parts counter anymore than anything else. In your case, Amazon is the parts counter.
Yep.
Right? So the machine's the parts counter. So I think it's very important. To your point, though, there's, from a search perspective, I think it just...
Yeah.
They create more work than they help solve.
Right. And as I was doing some research, I think it's just important to point out, which we kind of have already done, just the difference between categories and tags specifically for like a more of a blog. section of a website, whereas if it's like an e-commerce website, if you're looking at like a product category page, that's something that's, totally customizable, something that you have a lot of control over, whereas I guess where I started this conversation, I was thinking more along the lines of category and tags related to a blog, where those are kind of auto-generated and they live out there, and you don't have a lot of control over those, I guess. So
what have you read on tags versus categories? Have you explored that entity alone?
As far as
are you seeing the same thing coming back from an SEO perspective, meaning like both are good, both are bad?
I've seen recommendations. I've just kind of seen what people in the industry are talking about in forums and that sort of thing. And I've seen some recommendations about leaving categories indexed, but no indexing tags. And I think it depends kind of on what your intention is for your site too, I guess.
Interesting.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll have a blog post on this down the line. Keep an eye out for that.
Maybe we should implement some sort of user interface for our blog to be able to custom filter. Really we do it with the Redirect podcast. I mean, if you're at blacktruckmedia.com/blog, there's the always in kind of the right hand corner there for the redirect. That's more or less we're filtering that, saying no, here's all of those that are dedicated to podcasts, and those are a custom
It's
custom
filtered
category
into
post type.
into an anchor. It's anchored there, so it's like a forced filter.
Well, and we on our previous website, we did have the categories show up like on the right hand side where you could navigate to the different categories too, and with the new site we don't have that anymore.
That old site was terrible.
We do inside the articles we do have similar though, don't we? At the bottom, don't we have like similar articles too? Or not?
No, it's just from our
Okay.
blog. Yeah,
Got it.
Yeah, but I do like the similar vibe too. So I think that's where you're back to this, to circle back around, where categories and tags may not have a lot of value from an SEO perspective. If you have them categorized and tagged properly, and don't go overboard.
Right.
Pat, to your point,
Yep, have a strategy.
have a strategy baked in that, and maybe we go to that model even for us as we kind of strategize this live of, if I'm reading a post on how marketers react to Google's 0 result SERPs, are there other blogs that are related to that? And if they're tagged properly, it pulls those in. I think that's a smart use of those items and those elements in a site. But
Anytime you leave something up in the hands of the general population, it's gonna get messy.
right, yeah. Do you guys tend to when you see that, do you tend to click? Do you go deeper?
No.
It depends on if I've gotten all the information that I wanted from that article. If I think that I'm gonna, be able to learn more about what I'm specifically wanting to learn, or even if it's a catchy title,
Let
yeah.
me adjust my answer. Do I go deeper in the form of the sidebar navigation or
No.
the similar?
No, the similar.
I'm a product of tabs, so I option click or command click on those, and I'll open them in other tabs.
So you do,
So
but you do
yeah.
open them.
Yeah, I'll open them, but I won't close what I'm currently reading.
Yeah, but that does also show. I mean, regardless, you are taking some action on it, and I think that's a really great tactic. Whether it's a page and you're talking e-commerce products, or it's a post and what you're getting to is you're getting to page depth, and you're getting to that dwell time on site, which all of those are known. If you're deep enough in SEO, those are known signals to say how if I can improve those, that's also going to show Google
Right.
that you went on to find more value in the site too. So
Right.
you spent 3 minutes reading the article, got to the bottom, and went, it's an interesting related article. Yes, I'm going to click on that, and ultimately we see those page views increase and grow over time too. So
Which is a different way of having a call to action.
100% agree, because not every blog post, not every piece of content deserves an in-your-face demanding
Right.
buy now, convert. I wish that marketers could get that out of their heads, but send them to some other useful piece of content. All right. I've got another one for you guys. We talked about it earlier this week, so I'm shifting on the fly. How do you guys feel about after a conversion, how do you guys feel about a thank you page that you're redirected to? So you fill a form out at any point in the funnel, and you're sent to a thank you page, versus the auto message that kind of comes up in the screen, thanks, we got your information. Talk to me, what do you guys think about that? And let's talk about some best practices, pros and cons of both sides of it. We had a really great conversation the other day about that, and I think we have some strong opinions on it here.
You want to go?
Sure. Yeah, I think
let's not all start at once, guys.
I think it's an absolute must. And anytime
a must to do what?
To send you to a thank you page.
Okay.
And if there's not, it's a really big fail and a missed opportunity. Oftentimes those pop-ups or just the change in that, there's a small little header that pops up like below your main menu navigation that says we've received your message, can be overlooked and aren't seen, or so many times you see nothing. And me as a consumer, like, did that go through?
Yeah.
Should I have maybe copied that first to make sure it actually gets read somewhere? If you send it to a thank you page, you have another option to create a customized experience for that option. Again, you can write in some code that if your question was about X in a menu, if your menu item says, I'm curious about product A, in the thank you page, you can have more details about product A, or a blog post about product A, or just something friendly and fuzzy that you can put in there about anything. Thanks for contacting us. Hope you have a great day. Otherwise, you're missing an opportunity to bring that viewer deeper into the site.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
That doesn't even begin to talk about tracking.
Yeah, and kind of just piggybacking off that, if I were to submit a form and just get a little message show up underneath the submit button that said, thanks, we got your message, I'm done.
Yeah,
At that point, I'm like, okay, I can leave the site. So to your point, Pat, having a thank you page, it invites the user to go deeper into the site too.
And talk about having some pretty big, what ends up happening in that point, actually, is that you're going to see that exit rate on that. Maybe it's a product page or a services page. The exit rate on that page is probably going to be massive because you don't take another step. We would hope the exit rate on a thank you page is, or that conversion page, what we might call it. So totally, the exit rate, I would assume, is going to be higher if you're not doing a good job at keeping them there. But if you just convert on a product information type page, you're like, send me more details. Boop. Okay, guess I'm gonna go now. That really, I think that skews your data, but I believe that there's a lot, and especially with, depending on the CMS, it's so easy just to implement a contact form here and there versus being able to send to them to an actual thank you page. Pat, to your point on the conversion tracking side and getting to that absolute data point, whether we're doing AdWords conversion tracking, whether we're doing just basic analytics goal conversion tracking. Yeah, I mean, we know we can establish and trigger and fire all of those with multiple different tags in Google Tag Manager or other means, event-based goal tracking. But I think it's just more about how do I make you, the user, feel better about my brand. That's, to me, what it strictly comes down to, is because I'm pretty confident we can track it no matter what.
Right.
What I'm not confident in is whether or not it left you with the warm fuzzies.
Right.
On making an order or contacting us about distribution.
So much competition out there and so much talking about UX. It's catering to the customer and improving the customer experience and customizing to them. That's the opportunity to do it. If you're not doing that, you're totally missing a major portion of the game.
Yeah. It's the difference between a sincere thank you and we got your lead. All right, see you later.
Yeah. And I think a better play than a use with, and we're gonna get people that will give us flack probably to say, well, yeah, but I can do all that within GTM, and well, that's fine, but maybe isn't a better use of GTM is to maybe customize that then, Pat, to your point. So if you don't want to create, if you have a simple business and you have 4 product lines or 4 service areas, it'd be pretty easy to knock out 4 individual thank you pages that are very relevant, and if you convert it on the custodial services page, you're going to get maybe more information about custodial services or facility services and things like that, blog posts and whatnot, or listen to our podcast. But if you have a lot of services or a lot of categories, you could do if this then that scenarios in GTM with variables, and say, I want you to serve this. I want you to show this type of data afterwards. So you personalize it after the conversion.
Yeah, the .com/thank you at the root of it is the most simple way to set up the tracking. And yeah, you can set up tracking on any of those pop-up forms, whatever. However, it's the foot in the door to get you started kind of a deal. If you're maybe not a novice and you're a novice and you haven't hired a big marketing team to help you with your site, it's very easy in Google Analytics to set up a conversion tracking of did you land on the thank you page?
Yeah.
Yes. And that's a conversion.
And if you want to streamline it a little bit more, be more definitive, you can establish the funnel in Google Analytics to say that person needs to visit this page before they get to the thank you page even. So you can help better, it's not weed out the data and the users, but you better refine thank you. I just think I'm still to this day a huge fan of a thank you page if it makes sense, it's just from a sheer personalization standpoint. So
agreed.
Good. So it's pretty easy to set up, Pat. Like you said, it's going to be an exact URL in Google Analytics to do it. From an AdWords perspective, if you're using Google Tag Manager, you're gonna set your conversion up in AdWords, deploy it through Tag Manager, and say I want it to fire on this page, not all pages. I want it to fire on this page only. And you can test it in preview mode. That's straightforward to do. I think you can go even a step backwards and say that if you were working in something like a WordPress, that's real easy to deploy a thank you page on your own if you have that level of access. That doesn't take much work to do. Anything such as I think Drupal, Joomla, all the CMSs. This is a pretty straightforward thing to be able to add a site page and name it thank you or thanks or whatever you want to name it.
Confirmation.
Yeah, something at least, and put some content in there, So yeah, awesome, good stuff, guys. Anybody closing notes? Anybody?
Not beefy enough to get into
this. Okay, all right. Oh. Bing did away with sidebar ads, so there's that. Finally, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You said something. You mentioned Bing.
So Bing's finally getting back up to Google status here and getting rid of their sidebar ads. So, yep. We'll close with that.
All right.
Cool. Lots of stuff covered here, but I think two big things there. Very much are when you're converting people, are you thanking them properly? That's the way I kind of put that. Are you being personal about the thank you? And, what should we be thinking about more again on that content side too? So, cool. All right. Well, until next time, good luck.
This has been the Redirect Podcast. Check out the show notes at blacktruckmedia.com and add us on iTunes and Stitcher.